he can slam you and basically send you flying. This is the phase that I really struggled with because he kept grabbing me. So you wanna back away. He's a lot like Father Gascoigne in his second phase, but way bigger. He also does his slams and his claw grabs, and it's when he winds his hand back and he tries to grab you, that is a really, really deadly attack. Otherwise, I stayed mid-range and long range when he started doing his crazy cast. Hey there peeps, what is going on? It's Miss C.O.Z here and we're back with another Elden Ring video. Today I'm going to be covering the Godfrey first Elden Lord / Hourah Loux fight. Godfrey first Elden Lord is the default version and the boss before the final boss of Elden Ring. So we're literally nearly at the end of the series now where I became Elden Lady. But yeah, he is not easy, but his first phase was easier for me to learn because he is a lot like an earlier boss fight. Both the golden Godfrey or Godric, you encounter this boss about 3 times, and also the original Godric, Godric right at the start of the game. He's got these slow swings and telegraphs, and what you want to do is sort of just take it turn-based. So again, let him do his swinging and his axes. He also has a ground pound where he slams on the floor, so I just stayed mid-range. Then I waited for the dude to basically slam his axe and sort of hit his bar. This wasn't too hard. I did struggle with this fight, but I think the struggle came in the second phase, and I'll explain why. There was one bullshit attack that kept getting me, and I think a lot of Elden Ring does have those kind of stuff. So yeah, you want to get him to down quarter of his health. Again, make sure since you're at the end of endgame that you have like a lot of health, that you've been investing in your flask of crimson tears and stuff. If you have any ashes of war using a magical range build or whatever, do not hold back. Elden Ring is a really hard game. Souls games are really hard games, and even though I do sometimes go in with a weird trial and error minimalist thing and do boss fights on level and all that shit, I do adapt when I need to adapt, and I definitely adapted for the end game of Elden Ring. It was crazy enough. I was starting to use like my Bloodhound Fang and everything because these health bars are insane, and when the health bar is insane, you know how tedious a fight can be, as if they're not already difficult. But yeah, other than that, so I had everything that I needed to be equipped and basically read them. If you have any additional stuff, blood grease or whatever, I just couldn't be bothered to farm, and I have this hilarious weird fear that if I use resources and then I die because I haven't learnt the boss, as it takes a while sometimes, I have a slower but steady learning curve, but then a better curve towards the end, as in I master more, but I start off behind, if that makes sense. You can Google up INTJ learning methods. But anyway, back to that. Yeah, so back to the phase over here. So he slams his boot on the floor, and then he gets a little bit more aggressive once you get him past quarter of his health. Again, these ground pounds are crazy. You really need to start utilizing and mastering jumps in Elden Ring. Then he also does that crazy earthquake thing. But you can see what I'm doing in my movement. I pretty much learned his phase. He does his spinny attacks, 2 slashes forward and then a spin. Roll behind him between the slams, but then only get 1 hit in. As I said, past about quarter of his health, he begins to get really crazy. So he's actually got 3 phases. I noticed he becomes way more aggressive and the slams become more frequent in the second phase. But this still should be okay if you got used to the Godric fight, as long as you do not get greedy, which is another Souls rule as well. Make sure you use everything you need to get down the DPS, as the next fight is going to be even crazier. So any damage, anything that you use, as I said, I didn't do grease, but I should have. It would have helped me get him a little bit quicker, possibly get through his second phase. Once you take down his first phase, this is where it gets really difficult. He turns into Hulk Hogan, I kid you not. So in sparring with him, I saved my Ashes of War Bloodhound, I think finesse attack here, because what you want to do is you want to get him down really, really fast. You want to stay as far as possible, then dodge him when he does his grab ones. He's really, really crazy. If he grabs you, he can slam you and basically send you flying. This is the phase that I really struggled with because he kept grabbing me. So you want to back away. He's a lot like Father Gascoigne in his second phase, but way bigger. He also does his slams and his claw grabs, and it's when he winds his hand back and he tries to grab you, that is a really, really deadly attack. Otherwise, I stayed mid-range and long range when he started doing his crazy casting attacks. Okay, when he's about to do that slam again, always get into the habit of jumping just before his boot comes down. He will do 2 slams, so be sure to heal up if you miss the first heal. Again, it's when he does that crazy dive attack, but if you dodge it successfully, he will slow a little bit. You can see the pattern that's coming, and then of course, I think that attack nearly caught me, but yeah, of course he keeps doing that slam when when you see the gravel roll out of the area of gravel 2. As I said, this phase was really crazy because Hourah Loux goes from slow, 2 slow, 3 slow axe swings and maybe a slam here and there, yeah, and AoE and stuff, but once you predict the AoE, it's alright. But he's really aggressive in this phase, and so the key is to basically get this phase finished as fast as possible. All heavy attacks here, all Ashes of War, all special attacks. Look, there it is, that's that grab attack, takes off a chunk of your health. Had I not worked hard on basically finishing my pure dex build, which is what I had. Look, he almost killed me there. Luckily, because I knew I had to roll out of the AoE, I managed to always get through the fights on the last of my health. As soon as you recover, definitely heal up. And as I said, my gear over here, I went with a pure dex build. As a first time Elden Ring player, used Bloodhound Fang. It's a pretty good starter weapon if you're into melee. Another really good weapon, especially bleed damage, is Rivers of Blood. You should consider checking that out too. And then there are some really later good spears and stuff from bosses as well. But oh my god, look at my health there. I finished them off as fast as possible and sort of done a breakdown of that phase. But oh, that was pretty tough. Please